back to ISTQB Foundation Level Certification Prep course. So this is chapter number 2. So we will be discussing testing throughout the software development life cycle. So basically here we will be discussing why software testing needs to be carried out throughout the software development life cycle. What we mean by software development life cycle. As per the ISTQB definition, a software development lifecycle model describes the type of activity performed at each stage in a software development project and how activities relate to one another logically and chronologically. So, what all activities are involved in a typical software development life cycle and how are they related to one another logically and in chronologically, meaning time domain. So, the model could be waterfall, V model, or we may be following a Scrum, which is a particular type of agile methodology, or it could be Kanban, or it could be Spiral. So, we will be following one of those software development life cycle, and for every software development activity, there is a corresponding testing activity. So, each test level typically will have a particular objective, and testers participate in discussion right from beginning to refine and define requirement, design, and user stories. So, what we mean by that is testers' involvement will be there from very beginning, right from requirement design and user story writing phase. So, these model could be either sequential or iterative or and incremental. Now, what do we mean by that? Waterfall is a typical example of a sequential software development life cycle, where you go phase after phase in a sequential manner. And what do we mean by iterative is you develop something, show it to the customer, take the feedback, modify the product, and then go to the next iteration. And you repeat it. You develop something, show it to the end user. You take the feedback and go on improving the product iteratively. And in incremental methodology, what we do is we go on delivering the features in incremental model. And that is software development life cycle. Now this is what we were talking about, and then what do we mean by context, software development life cycle model context? What we mean by that is generally is the software model selected and adapted to the context of the project. So how do we decide basically whether to go for waterfall, V, Scrum, Kanban, or Spiral is on the basis of the context of the project. And depending upon context, test level and test activities differ. So depending upon the context of the software development lifecycle model, the test levels and test activities that we follow will be different. For example, integration of commercially off the shelf software products, if we are taking let's take an example of a software networking computer networking software. You would have procured different network elements from different people. So you, although they will be adhering to certain interfaces, you make sure the interfaces are functioning as intended. So integration testing becomes critical there. And now, next what we want to say is we may not be strictly following a particular model as such. We may be following a hybrid model. What we mean by hybrid model is So let's say we are developing a web application. For example, the backend or the server side application may be developed using V model, while the user interface front end may be developed using Agile. Okay, so let's say software is being developed. The server side program is, let's say, it is developed in Node.js. So the Node.js component may be developed in a V model, while let's say a front end which is developed in Vue, right? It may be developed using Agile. Okay, and in certain cases, typically IoT software, etc., the system, we would have procured the components from different entities. So each of those components may be developed using different models. Okay. So a project need not follow typically rigidly waterfall or V or agile everywhere. It could be, as we discussed, backend could be developed in one methodology, front end could be developed in another. Now, let's talk about context again. Different in product risks and subsystem. So, different different components of the system may have different risks associated, and um, the projects may be geographically spread across, generally we see operations, under operations programs, under programs projects, right? So this is a hierarchy, like operations, under operations programs, under programs projects. So each of those entities, what we mean by each of those entities is, like, operations may be following under operation, one program may be following one methodology, another program may be following another methodology. Within program also, different projects may be following different methodology. Now, generally these days there is a short time for delivering the product, so even we need to take that thing into consideration while embracing a particular test methodology. Okay, with that thing, we have covered 2.1. Let's move to 2.2.